Hello everyone, welcome back to another election prediction video. This time we have President Joe Biden up against former governor of New Jersey, Christie. So lately, Christie, he has the worst favorables in the Republican primary, and I think that'll genuinely hurt him in a general election scenario. And not only that, for him to even win the nomination, I think that would make Donald Trump run as a third party candidate. I think that would be a likely scenario. However, this is a hypothetical two-person race, so we're excluding that possibility, but Trump would probably run as a third party candidate in the event of that even occurring. So I think we set up all the safe states. Other than that, if you aren't subscribed to the channel already, I would highly recommend doing so. But let's just get right into this video. So we're going to go into the first few safe states, and there's a lot more Democratic ones. So Colorado, New Mexico, Christie would really have a struggle to get those Trump supporters to vote for him in the general election. He has terrible favorables among them as well. So again, that's just going to hurt him, especially in Virginia as well. There's traditionally Democratic states he wouldn't really do well enough in. In Iowa and Ohio, even, he's not going to win by likely margins. He's only going to win these by lean. He'll definitely just tremendously underperform in both of these two states with Trump voters who are extremely populist in these two states as well. In Nebraska, I would even put Nebraska first as likely. I could see that big of a drop off for Trump voters in this district for him. And in Nebraska second would just be a likely blue district. In Maine and New Hampshire, I just think Maine would be a safe district. And honestly, yeah, I could see Maine second voting for Biden here because I could just see that big of a drop off among just Trump voters overall in this district. He really brings out the rural vote. So I just see this district actually flipping back to the Democrats by a tilt margin. And in New Hampshire, I mean, this is one of Christie's better states. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here. I do think he could make it a bit better. But then you have to factor in the Trump voters not being as willing to turn out. So that kind of makes me put it to a likely state. So again, just because of that drop off in Trump voters, even though he would do better with independent voters here, it's still just a 5% Democratic state, I would say, in margin. Minnesota, again, I would just put as likely blue. I don't think Biden will win by double digits here. He still is a pretty unpopular president. But Michigan and Pennsylvania, Christie has no chance at winning them without Trump voters. You need those populist voters to turn out. You need a good rural turnout to win these states as a Republican. I have both of them going as likely blue states. In the state of Texas, he's not that bad a Republican to lose this state. Again, most Republicans and conservatives will still come out to vote for him in the state of Texas, but it'll be a lot closer than it typically is. So he'll only win here by about 3% or so. Definitely underperforming Trump in this state. In Alaska, you could see just rural voters and Trump voters not being as willing to turn out, which is why I have it as a smaller margin here. In Florida, it's a Republican version of New York at this point. It's just trending more and more Republican every year, and just a lot more Republicans are moving to the state. And you just look at party registration numbers. It's devastating for Democrats. So even weak GOP candidates like Christie will be able to win the state of Florida by like 3 points or 2% even. So again, just state that has gone away from Democrats. In Nevada and Arizona, I could see him performing tiny bit better than independents in these states. Again, there isn't as many populist voters in both of these states, so he wouldn't lose them by likely blue margins. He'd just lose them by lean blue margins. Arizona would probably do a bit better than Nevada because there's more like moderate, centrist, or just center-right voters that would be willing to vote for him, but still not enough without those Trump voters supporting him. There's definitely going to be a drop-off among them in these two states. In Georgia and North Carolina, I would just have Georgia as lean blue and North Carolina as tilt blue. He would even lose North Carolina against a very weak incumbent president in the approval ratings. Just because of that drop-off with Trump voters, he just wouldn't do as well as Trump would, and he would just have a net loss among them. For whatever gain he could get with independent voters, it's just not enough to offset that loss. And the state of Wisconsin also has a lean blue state, so Biden wins here by like 3%. So Biden gets a bigger victory than had in 2020. He flips the state of North Carolina blue. He probably wins a popular vote against Christie by, I'd say, like 4%, because again, he would probably do a bit better in like states like California and New York than Trump would from 2020. So even though Biden wins by a lower popular vote margin, Christie just does a bit better in these bluer states. It's not going to matter because in the swing states, there's a lot of Trump voters and populist voters that Christie will have net loss among just because they just don't like him as a candidate, honestly. But other than that, if you enjoyed this video, I'd highly recommend subscribing and leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with this map. I'm interested in your feedback. All right, I'll see y'all in the next one.